Hi, and welcome back. Now that we've uncovered the culture at Amazon, let's look at the history of that specific organization. Amazon started out in 1994 selling books online. Within the next few years, they also added a few other categories, such as toys, CDs, and DVDs. As they were facing fierce competition from companies like eBay, Amazon went into creating Amazon Auctions. Amazon Auctions turned out to be a huge failure. At least when you think about the business results, the short-term business results it delivered. But from the failure of auctions, Amazon learned to build something else, which ultimately turned into Amazon Marketplace, and today that's worth around 2/3 of their retail revenues. A few years later, Amazon decided to rent out their technology infrastructure, initially to developers, later startups, but also larger organizations like Netflix. That business idea ultimately became Amazon Web Services, which today is their fastest growing business area and is the key profit generator. A couple years later, in 2008, Amazon decided to move into building hardware products. Why? They wanted to make reading books, which was their initial business, much easier. So they came up with the idea of the Amazon Kindle. Now, as an organization, Amazon had no idea and no experience in the development of hardware products. So they had to acquire a few other companies, but more importantly, they had to build that expertise internally. And their willingness to invent and not being afraid of failure was a key driver of that specific success. The capability to build hardware devices resulted in Amazon approaching a new project, being the Amazon Fire Phone. They wanted to create a valid third option in addition to iOS, being Apple devices, and Android phones. But they failed to do so. The interesting piece here, again going back to the behaviors and not being afraid of failure, that same team that was working on the Fire Phone became the team that worked on the Echo devices, which are now one of the most successful products at Amazon. After being in the retail space, in the software space, in the services space, Amazon decided to move into the content space with Amazon Prime Video and music. And again, their behavior, their culture, their values of continuous invention and customer obsession helped them, after several iterations, build a compelling and winning product. In the book, Working Backwards, the two authors, who are former Amazon executives, cover the stories of Amazon's failures and successes and how those things are connected to the leadership principles, which we have covered as part of this training, really well. I highly recommend you read that book. Now that we've covered a brief history of Amazon, starting out as a bookseller, ultimately becoming the everything store, and having a ton of different business models, let's close this section and move on to our next one. See you there.